22. I think that's kind of important because in the States, this is what a 22-year-old looks like. We get wider with age. I will look different in 10 years. But in Sweden, you guys don't. It's amazing. Like, you're all so thin and so beautiful all the time. And I can't tell the difference. No, you are. I mean, to my American eyes, you are. I'm used to, I don't even want to talk about it, but that's why I came here. But I can't tell the difference between, like, a teenager who smokes a lot and a really fit grandma. Like, ask me. It's a game. I live in Copenhagen. They play with me. They're like, you know, how old is that person? I'm like, I don't know. It could be a 4-year-old who swears a lot. Or it could be someone, like, maybe my age who's just really ignored. I really don't know. But yeah, I have all my notes on my hand, by the way. You can see it. But yeah, it makes dating really awkward that I can't tell everybody's age. But yeah, I don't actually date in Denmark because I've gotten hit on a lot tonight in Sweden, but in Denmark nobody hits on me, so I'm going to assume that this is a cultural difference. And that's also what I tell my American friends. So yeah, I was like, please, I hope that that's true and it's not something personal. But yeah, I have a lot. Oh, but living in Denmark, it is kind of like Sweden is Oz, like in my head. It's like this magical place because you're nicer and you drink less. And you have better soy products. Just kind of like romanticized the entire Swedish experience. But back to dating, because I guess when you're like a lady comic, that's what everyone thinks you're going to talk about, so might as well. Another reason I don't date Scandinavian guys, besides them not hitting on me, is, which is a good reason, and I'm fine with it. You can stay that way, because I'll explain. I'm Jewish, and all y'all are like blonde and blue-eyed, and that's very attractive, but I have been raised on World War II movies. And my mother has trained me not to find that attractive. It looks like the extras in Schindler's List. It's a shame for me and for you. So, yeah, that's awful. But I am Jewish, but like, you know, in the United States, usually Jewish people aren't that Jewish. Like in Europe, they're like really Jewish, but in the United States, it's just something we say to like make ourselves feel better about being neurotic. But the only time I feel like a really observant Jewish person is when I watch gay porn on a Jewish holiday. A little tiny part of me thinks, take that, Hitler. I think we won. I can watch that and be Jewish. So yeah, and yeah, oh god, so many things, so many jokes that just don't make sense being in Sweden. You guys are so nice. The only thing that kind of seems to translate with all the Scandinavian languages is everybody likes to tell you as an American like how hard they all are. They're like, oh, you know, we have this word, you don't have it in English, so I can't really translate it. Like in Denmark, it's hyggelig or hygge. We talk about, and they're like, oh, it's like cozy, or like, oh, it's like nice. And I've lived there long enough that I kind of understand now. It just means functional alcoholism. I'm learning, again, this is my first thing doing stand-up comedy in Sweden, but I'm learning that you can kind of substitute that, I think, for most of the things in Sweden, Norway, and Denmark that they say I can't possibly understand, or that there possibly isn't an English word. You just slide that in there and everything begins to make sense. So, yeah. Going back to the nervousness thing, I'm really only nervous because you're all looking at me, and I think that's reasonable. But I'm not irrationally nervous about a lot of things. The only other thing that I'm like very irrationally nervous about is flying, which is a little hard because I'm from the States and I live in Denmark and I travel a lot, and so I'm often on planes. And I don't know where this came from because it seems like everybody else is just completely fine with it. Like you're on a plane and you're thousands of feet up in the air and no one else is peeing themselves. I don't know how that works. But I think that's great. More power to you. I don't want to freak you out or anything, but like you're really high and you will die. And things could go wrong, so it's rough. But I trace this moment to being a little kid on the plane next to my dad. I think we were going to England. It was a big deal. And the stewardess was giving her presentation about safety, and I was paying rapt attention and like taking notes. And I wasn't that scared because it's like, well, clearly there's a procedure, so we'll all be fine. And she's like, you know, in the event of a water landing, and my dad leans over and he's just like, say your prayers. And I'm like, oh, Dad, you're so silly. Like, there's a flotation device under my seat. I'll be fine. We'll all be fine. And he's like, no, they just say that to make you feel better. And I was like 7. we'll take the flotation device into our seats and we'll slide down the slides and all will be well. And he just like shakes his head, just like he's like, I'm saying my prayers. I suggest you do the same. So, that's why I'm afraid. That's the end of my set. Thanks. It's been great.